Engage Burnham.
I'm your new wingman.
We will win! Because we have...
Welcome to CommLink.
Hello and welcome back to another edition of CommLink Reacts. I'm Stubb, and as always, I'm joined by Silvius. How you doing, buddy?
I'm great, man. Happy 316 day.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
That's right.
Happy 316 day indeed.
You celebrating today?
Absolutely. It's my favorite holiday of the year.
That's right. It's the
And it
best
should
holiday.
be yours.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But no, we're going to take a look at Star Citizen Live Q&A, focusing on FPS. Changes coming in Alpha 3.23 to the game. Really excited for this. They had the Inside Star Citizen on FPS last week, and so this is sort of the follow-up to that in a similar way that they've most recently done with Master Modes. And I feel like when they did the Master Modes Q&A, we got some pretty decent bits of information in there. Then, of course, in the community, we had some follow-up discussions. Maybe the biggest example in particular would be Space Tomato had on Yogi and Avenger 1 to talk about the Master Modes changes. And that was, I thought, was really insightful. And so maybe something similar will come of this video as well. I don't know. We'll have to see what all is said here.
Yeah, I'm definitely more of a first-person shooter player than a spaceship pilot. So this is a little more in our wheelhouse. We're both big FPS guys, so I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what they have to say about some of the questions that came up after last week's ISC.
Yeah, and I've not watched any of this yet, but I hear tell, meaning you messaged me some, and I saw some post on like Twitter that there's some talk about sniper gameplay, and we've talked a bit about our own concerns with changes that they've discussed coming to snipers. So I'm looking forward to that bit in particular.
Yeah, I've tried to stay away from. I really wanted to watch this yesterday, but yeah, I've tried to stay away from as much as possible. So let's get into it and see what they have to say.
Here we go.
I swear, if there's one question about night vision on this show, I'm going to leave. I'm just going to walk out the door. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Star Citizen
Jared.
Live, your weekly discussion
Why the night vision
behind the
hate?
scenes, Q&A, sometimes where were
I'm
you
not
born
sure.
and why did you get into video games questions. Joining us on the show this week, we're just going to jump right into it this week.
Check out Lando and the Echo one there.
Esteemed members of our FPS improvements.
I love some of the stuff he has sitting around in
members
there.
of Team Nuck.
Yeah. Yeah, that's always
we
super fun.
We still haven't named these teams. We're just going to jump into it with some introductions because everybody knows who I am. Unfortunately, I don't need to take up any more time. Zach.
Hello.
How are you doing?
It's me.
Oh,
I'm good. Spectrum's number
shades.
one enemy here.
Shades are back. I
Senior
love
game
it.
designer, FPS man, the guns, AI, creatures, the whole shebang. That's me.
Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
We were talking about you were actually supposed to be on a show once before, and we did. You know, most people don't know that you wouldn't see it in the live show, but there's actually like this huge prep period before we go live, and we did like 40 minutes of prep and making sure going through things, blah blah blah, and then like just 2-3 minutes before the start of the show, Zach's internet went out, and he disappeared.
Oh no!
And he wasn't on the show he was supposed to be on before, but you're here now.
Classic.
It's working.
I am here.
It's all right.
I'm back. Hello.
I'm glad it's not just us that have
You're
connection
wearing,
issues.
You're wearing the shades that protect you from the YouTube comments.
I am. I can't read Twitch chat with these on. They have
Awesome.
comment blocking abilities. They're very handy.
All right. Pascal, who are you and what do you do for Star Citizen?
Hi, my name is Pascal. I'm a gameplay
Hello.
programmer in Frankfurt, and I'm doing programmer stuff like coding and whatever that is.
All right, what does a
Most people
gameplay?
can't really. Yeah. Go
No.
on.
What does a gameplay programmer do with regards to FPS?
Coding and
Are you
stuff.
the one determining left foot goes in front of right foot? What's a programmer?
No, that's for more smarter people. I'm the one that Zach screams at when he wants something in the game. Hey, can we do X? And then I go, probably. let me have a look, and then I get around and eventually we get a task added for that, and
So it's that
that's
classic,
how our workflow is.
that classic relationship between designer and programmer. Can we do this? No. But can we do this? Maybe. You'll let me know? I'll let you know.
Yeah, it's pretty much that. Zach chimes in once or twice a day. Hey, by the way, I have a query. Can we do this? And then
It's pretty much the Austin Powers thing where you've got to ask them 3 times and eventually they'll say yes. So,
yeah.
you know.
That is oh my God, that is the relationship between designer and programmer put perfectly, Nick. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Nick, tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Hello, yes, so I'm Nick. I'm a system designer 3. So I'm on the core gameplay team, which is anything FPS related. But we obviously focus on the features for FPS and Star Citizen. So I work quite closely with Zach. We're kind of like the weapon buddies.
So is this the guy to blame for the sniper
I
glint?
work on entity setups. I work.
Guess
on
we'll find out.
parsing. I've also just.
I like
picked
Nick,
up
though. He's got a
keybinds
good
and
mic.
Everything kind of FPS related.
He does.
That's kind of me. Yeah.
Okay. And last but certainly not least, Atul. Tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Hello, I am Atul. I'm also a gameplay programmer based in Frankfurt. Lately I've been working on reload improvements, and I wore my favorite T-shirt today.
What does it say? Honk?
Exactly.
Is there an explanation
Amazing.
of that? Honk? Just honk?
Honk, honk.
Honk.
One more. Honk.
Honk.
Okay.
It's a power move.
German humor.
Yeah. To be fair, Atul is not German. Atul is from Turkey.
It is a power move. Let me do a little submission display for Atul. There you go. There. I submit to your power move. All right. So let's jump into the questions because we wasted enough time. If you've never seen Star Citizen live before, lucky you. This show is where we take questions from you, the Star Citizen community. We posted a thread up on Spectrum, which is the bespoke communication platform available on robertspaceindustrials.com. We let you submit your questions, vote up which ones that you want to see answered most. Then we let Zach and Nick and Atul and Pascal jump in there, ignore your voting, and pick the questions they wanted to answer most, which is what we got here. We've thrown them up, we mix them around, and we're just going to jump all around this list here and just jump right into it. Right off the bat, Sniper Glint. I'll just start with Sniper Glint.
Here we go.
Let's get spicy.
We snuck that into the show. We didn't talk about it. We just showcased it. We're like, oh my, people are going to notice. People noticed.
Yep.
Seen a lot of comments. Seen a lot of comments on Spectrum and social media about, Sniper Glint's bullshit and blah blah blah. Oh, I used our one swear. Sorry, you don't have any. Talk to us. Talk to us about Sniper Glint. Why is it there? How does it work? Who will see it? How does it play into FOV angles and everything? Talk to me all things Sniper Glint. Go.
So Sniper Glint occurs when a sniper is in aim down sight and they are aiming at you at a specific angle. So imagine if we say that target A is sniper and sniper is here, the target is here. It won't matter necessarily what your angle is. It matters what the sniper's angle is. And we're primarily doing that based upon what you imagine FOV of the player, right? They have like a cone in front of them, and that determines whether you can see the glint or not. And that glint angle is customizable. I've previously said like 11.5. Again, we were spitballing. We were just trying things out. There's a minor glint, and then there's a direct glint. So the minor glint is obviously when you're in, let's say it's 10 degrees. And that minor glint is visible for 7.5. But when they're directly on you, we shine that major glint. This is primarily done because of how powerful snipers are in the persistent universe. And if you're injured at all and you're wearing a heavy helmet, they can just one-tap you in the head. And the cost of death is very punishing. It's very high, along with, obviously, a sniper being a powerful weapon. We still want to enable the fantasy of it. But you've got to have that initial feedback for you're about to get, they're lining up a shot, they're doing things, and to obviously there's a lot of gameplay implications there with how that looks, how that feels. I've seen a lot of people talking about a lot of suggestions, and a lot of them were very post-fire oriented. So we want some pre-fire orientated warning that this is going off and occurring, and hey, you should be careful. We're doing some other things as well with regards to snipers, with removing auto zeroing off all scopes, and we're
That is
increasing
good.
the zeroing increments, so you have to focus more on landing your shot. And yeah,
So some follow-ups on just
A
the
double
things
nerf,
you
though.
said, and then Nick and Natalie, I want you to jump in here. So you mentioned customizable. You mean you can customize it? We can customize it, not for the player.
we can customize it. So each scopes, they may, and
Just turn it
different
off.
Scopes may have different
Just turn it
FOVs and
off.
things like that to allow not customization, but differentiation between manufacturer. So some might have different modifiers on different glint angles, and you can pick the one that is okay. Cool. This is how I'm going to play my sniper.
And then when you mention, obviously death is punishing. It's punishing now because the time it takes to get back into the fight and then like this gets more punishing when you consider death of a spaceman and all those things that we've talked about. As those things, the more of those facets come online, finding ways to help people stay alive in these situations becomes more important. So Sniper Glint plays into that. One of the questions in the chat was instantly, how does this work at night?
There is. Oh, Nick, do you want to jump on this one? Or shall I
No,
take it?
go for it, mate. Go for it.
Okay, so the regardless of lighting conditions, the glint is there, and that is because of how powerful these weapons are and how these things are needed to be in to essentially say, hey, there is this incredibly powerful weapon aiming on you. You have time to react if necessary. They had to line up their shot on you, and so on and so forth. So it is visible during the night. I'm aware that is controversial. And if anyone has any good alternatives they'd like to suggest, please give feedback. We're more than open to hear it. But this is a very gameplay.
I got some feedback, Zach.
Orientated thing.
Yeah, Zach and I, we had a playtest the other day with our lead Torsten, not Nuck Layman, and I think I really want players just to have a go with it because I think it's really
go ahead, give us a sniper
really
mode in
asking,
Arena
especially
Commander.
when we want to make snipers really
Give us a nice big FPS map
really
to play on,
powerful,
and let's see how
especially
this
like
shit
50
plays
cal
out.
snipers like the P6R. We really want them to be beneficial and really reward that gameplay, but at the same time, it needs some sort of balance. It needs some sort of counter to that. So I think, especially with the angles that Zach mentioned,
So
I
give
think
other people
at
tools
first,
to
I think
counter
it's
it.
a bit like, oh, I'm not sure, but once you give it a go, I think, like the crosshair we found at first, when we were talking about the crosshair, we were like, how are we going to implement it? And then after a while, after you've been using it, you're like, actually, this feels great, and we can't imagine not using it now. So
Yeah. The key thing is when you look at people, especially in places like Jumptown, where there's a lot of it's very dark, it's very hard to see things, and you have a sniper. And at the moment, currently, we don't obviously have the most fantastic feedback for post-shot for the snipers. For example, we don't have the really obvious traitors, we don't have the really obvious muzzle flash, and the audio doesn't go far enough and things like that. So we are aware of those things.
Yeah.
But it's very hard to see the sniper at Jumptown, and it just leads to this kind of degenerate play style where it's like someone is not engaging with Jumptown, right? They're there to just sit and be a sniper. They're not necessarily they're not contesting Jumptown. They're not doing it for their team. And
Sounds like contesting it to me if they're killing people that are showing up.
It's healthy for the
Yeah,
game.
and what if they're part of a team and that's their role on the team? Is the snipe.
Send your letters to Zach, care of Cloudframe Games.
Yeah. I one more thing I will add on this as well. I've seen some comparisons to other games and looking at glint and stuff. Our glint is a lot smaller. Our glint is a lot less.
To me,
obvious.
if you've got a large
Obviously,
enough
we
team,
only
it
showed
makes
one
sense to
distance,
have
but you'll
a
see
lookout man
The glint is not
while everybody
like,
else is moving the
light
drugs
of blood
around.
itself is looking at you.
No, people have seen 1.5 seconds of it, and in one situation, and the imagination.
That's all we need, Jared.
With it. Like all things, try it, test it, feedback. Try it, test it, feedback. We change. Try it, test it, feedback. We change.
Test it.
It'll be dialed in like anything else. And if you didn't get the thing about the degenerate thing, joking. I'm joking.
My launcher's put up right
joking
now.
at Zach's expense because
Let's
it's the word he used. I will say there's someone in the chat named Kakashi. Kakashi said, as soon as you add Sniper Glint, everyone will play quick scoping snipers that run and parkour around. Do you agree with that?
No, people just aren't going to use snipers.
We're increasing sniper ADS time as well, so snipers will have a longer ADS time.
Holy
if you
shit!
play them against them in
Again, I ask, why snipe?
So they're also going to have like bigger hip fire and things like that. So, but they're also going to have much more higher damaging profiles than they currently have. Like the fall off on them is very strong and things like that. So, leaning into the power fantasy elements of the sniper while making sure that, hey, I'm playing Star Citizen, I don't expect to die to some guy who's running around with a sniper rifle, because
why not?
That's not the FPS experience that we really feel.
Yeah. And
you could drop a bomb on
ADS
them.
if you're no scoping. So
that's cool.
If you're trying to quick
But
scope,
God forbid.
ADS is. If you're not
Sniper.
no scoping, it doesn't affect you. And the glint will be
adjusted no scoping as well a little bit, like we with the whole recoil thing that we added with this FPS improvements. The snipers got their recoil pass as well, I think. Obviously this is still a work in progress, but spray and recoil no scope can be different from spray and recoil in ADS. So when you're not ADSing, no scoping can be adjusted by increasing spread or increasing the recoil there to make it harder to hit.
Yeah,
we typically don't have spread on our weapons when you ADS, so there's very few exceptions, but yeah.
I think the moral in all of this is simply try it, keep trying it, give us feedback, keep giving us feedback. These guys keep reading the feedback. We talked to the player experience team and such last week and stuff. It's a cycle. It's a cycle of this. The only thing that doesn't help is doom and gloom. Try it, feedback, process the feedback, make changes over and over again until we get to some place where we find consensus. It's never going to make everybody happy. Nothing's ever going to make everybody happy, but it's about finding consensus, and we'll find the consensus. Let's jump into more of these questions because we're already one.
Let's pause it there for a second.
And we've done one question.
All right.
Man, so that wasn't the answers I was hoping for.
Nope.
So they're giving us not okay. So before we even get into this, I can probably count on one hand the amount of times I've been a sniper in a situation on Star Citizen. And out of those times, probably only one or two were at players. It was probably like most of the time I'm using a sniper, it'd be like at a derelict outpost or something, killing NPCs.
Right.
So glint doesn't matter there, but what I'm trying to get at is I'm not a huge sniper person. So I'm not even like butthurt that snipers are getting a nerf necessarily because I use snipers. It's just bad gameplay mechanics, it feels like to me. As a just overall FPS player. Because one, they're giving snipers the glint, right?
Right.
Even at night, no matter what the light source is. They're changing the auto zeroing off the scopes, increasing ADS and recoil, and damage fall off. So they're adding all these nerfs, but like I don't feel like I've seen that many people complaining like, "Oh, I got sniped at jump down. This is terrible. I can't see the sniper." Like I guess that was happening some, but I don't think the glint is if this is a problem that a lot of people are experiencing, the glint is not the right answer. Taking the zeroing off the scopes, great. That's a good nerf. You, as a sniper, you should know your distance and have to know how you have to adjust your shot for that distance, not just like hit a button on your keyboard and it automatically zeros, right?
Sure.
The ADS fall off and stuff, and them talking about people like dying in one hit, like I guess that feels bad, but also like, can we not increase the amount of damage it takes or the amount of health you lose or something when you like go from the being up to the down state where you can still be revived?
Right.
You know, what if instead of instantly dying, you're just going into that down state so then somebody else can revive you or you can call for help, whatever. But
or
I don't know,
just enhance the damage mitigation of armor in game.
Yeah. I feel like there's so many different things they're talking about wanting pre-fire warnings, but that's kind of taking the like point out of sniping?
Yeah, I
If
mean,
you're a
okay,
sniper,
so
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, maybe, if it's a fairly close range sniper shot, okay, yeah, maybe you go down in one hit, but maybe the damage fall off is if you're, sniping from 200 meters away or whatever, it takes 2 shots before the player goes down. Like, I'd be okay with that. Doesn't have to
Yeah.
always be a one-shot kill, but tacking on all of these nerfs to sniper gameplay just feels like the CIG teams working on this don't like snipers. Like that's the vibe that I'm getting.
That's what it feels
because
like.
yeah, I've not, in the hundreds of hours of Star Citizen that we've both put in, I can't think of a single time where it's like, fuck, this sniper's like really screwing my gameplay right now. Not
Yeah.
once. So
So-
I don't know why sniper gameplay as is in game right now is considered to be so OP that all of these coming changes are necessary. It's lost on me.
Yeah, like I'm okay with glint on the scope if it makes sense. Is there sunlight shining in your face? Okay, it's going to reflect off the lens. Sure, there's going to be a glint then. Is there a spotlight from a ship or a player's flashlight shining on you? Okay, fine. Have it glint. But otherwise, like these pre-fire warnings they're talking about, that's not something that's, I mean, they're juggling this realistic and, having to make it fun for gameplay and stuff, but still, like, that's, as a sniper, you're going to be hidden, you're going to be getting intel, you're going to be choosing, your position based on, I don't want a glint on my scope, so I'm going to position myself on this hill instead of that one. And after you fire a shot and down someone, you're already going to be moving before they figure out where you just shot from. And then you line up, you move your position and then line up for another shot. Oh, we're just going to stand here and look for the glint. No, give us FPS scanning. Give us, Jared said he doesn't want to hear night vision talked about, but give us night vision, thermal vision.
Yeah.
Make the muzzle flash of the snipers more pronounced. Make them have tracers. I don't know, man, but all of those things sound fine except for the glint. It just doesn't make sense to me, and it just it feels bad in a gameplay sense that this is the direction they're going. And I just, he says try it and test it. I don't care how much I'm going to test it. I don't think I'm going to like it.
It's another god marker. It's what it is. It's a god marker on your scope.
Yeah, and I'll try it. I'll test it out, and but I think it's just it's a miss if they leave sniper glint in. Give the players other tools to tell where snipers are, or I don't know. I'm not trying to get bent out of shape about this one thing, but it just, for some reason, it feels really bad. And like you said, it's like the devs are like just hating on snipers for some reason. And like, let's think of games that have sniper glint. What? Call of Duty, Battlefield, Halo. Halo has glint, right?
Halo, I'm not sure about. It might.
But anyway, those like more arcadey, like FPS games are the ones that are going to have it. Games like DayZ, they don't have them. You can spend days, weeks looting, surviving, like being the most badass person in DayZ, and it only takes 1 second. It only takes 1 second for somebody to snipe you in that game. And it feels bad, if you're on the receiving end of that, but it also makes you be a smarter player, because you have to think about things like that. You can't just be running through the woods looking for a glint behind a tree. I don't know. But
And there's no insurance. There's no personal hab to go back to. Like in that game, you're just starting fresh, 100%.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm not saying Star Citizen has to be as hardcore as DayZ, but
No.
it's just there's other ways to counteract snipers, and it just feels like a lazy. I'm sure these devs aren't lazy. I'm sure they're working their ass off. That's not what I'm trying to get at, but it feels like they're like, oh, it's how do we nerf snipers? Throw a glint on the scope, and that's they're not developing tools for players to counteract it or whatever. But I don't know that.
Yeah, it's
I'm
like
gonna get off my soapbox here.
What's the cheesiest, arcadiest band-aid that we can slap onto this perceived problem? It feels like the decision that they made.
Yeah, that's exactly what it feels like, and I don't want that to happen for other parts of the game. Like Death of a Spaceman isn't in right now. Snipers aren't that big of a deal. Like, let us deal with them for a few more patches until you come out with a better solution.
Yeah, and go ahead and give us this crap on Arena Commander. Like, talking about testing it, let us test it. Otherwise, we're just gonna keep talking about this until April. We finally get our hands on it then.
Yeah, I guess so. But I think this is one of those things I can test and test and test. But no matter how they tweak it, unless it's only from specific light sources, I'm not gonna like it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Jared just looks like he's judging us right now so hard.
He is probably, but yeah, I don't know. Not feeling great about that, but we'll see what else they have to say.
Do any of these changes to scopes fix the issue of armor clipping into the sights, or is that simply an armor issue?
We are investigating this. It is sadly an armor issue. When we go into ADS, then our armor clips in due to animation because we're not bringing the weapon to our eyes. We're looking into that, and we're planning on releasing for 323 a temporary fix for this. It's not final yet. We're looking into other options to make it a permanent, good solution, because the current solution has a few, not so pretty things about, or a few issues. In the future, there will be the perfect no clipping. Hopefully, I will look into that later down.
Yeah,
So
I'm pretty sure there are clipping occasions even when we're not wearing armor, though.
Yes,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
what we've done is we've basically taken what we call like the near eye renderer or something. I'm not a graphics programmer, but essentially
Near plane.
near plane. So imagine if like this is the end of your gun, right? We can basically clip the end of this gun off, and you only see the clipping at the end of the gun off if you're in high FOV and while you're going out. But the level of improvement this has is incredibly drastic. So right now we're really struggling to have it block views on sniper rifles, for example, or assault rifles with a ×4. The improvement is monumental, and the patch after 323, we've hopefully got something that is, a lot nicer and a lot smoother than that. Obviously, TBD.
Okay. Are there plans for more grenade types?
Yes.
It's a good question.
We have a lot of grenade types already prototyped, some of them, or implemented some of them for Squadron. The basic FPS types or FPS grenade types that smokes, flashes, and whatnot. And from there on, we're gonna move on to the more sci-fi things and other FPS devices as well.
Well, like a nice electric stun grenade.
Nick, do you want to give
That
some
would be cool.
of the
Grenade,
examples that
yeah.
we've kind of
Especially
like
for bounty hunting.
We can talk
Exactly.
about?
Do you mean the sci-fi ones, or do you mean just the standard?
I'd say the more standard contemporary ones.
Yeah, so obviously we've got we've got the flash stun and frag, obviously like Pascal mentioned, but the flash grenades or even the stun grenade, concussion grenade, we're kind of playing around with different ideas of how exactly we want to do it for Squadron. Obviously with PvP as well, there's you got to be careful with balancing and stuff like that, but we have played around with the idea of the angles of where it goes off. So obviously if your flash goes off directly in front of your face, how long that would have that effect on the screen, whereas opposed if it just happens to in your peripheral vision to your right hand side, how long that would have an effect, and then after effects. And we're obviously working with that. We've got a really great health system like the BDL system in our game, and we looked at some of the effects that we could have produced on the eyes of the after effects of being stunned and how that all plays into it as well. And again, like smoke grenade, again, it's so different between PvE and PvP. How long does the smoke last for, performance wise? So we're obviously looking into all the different factors of what happens bringing something from a single player experience into a multiplayer experience. But they're not gonna, reinvent the wheel necessarily. They're going to be kind of what you expect for those classic items. But then, like Pascal mentioned, we are going to start introducing some more sci-fi elements, things I think like area of denial kind of types of devices as well. So yeah.
Don Steeler Gaming in the chat asked, "Will grenades have glint?"
They will make a light, the flashbang especially, but
it's like a
not
big
sure
glint,
if you count this as glint. If you look really close into the scope, it might flashbang you. But
Sorry. You mentioned the health system, the next question we got here. Does CIG have any plans to replace things like percentage of health with more immersive vitals, things like blood pressure and heart rate, so players might feel more immersed in the experience of Star Citizen?
So in terms of the overall health meter, that's the current goal at this time, but we are doing some things related around medical gameplay at the moment. For example, with injuries, we're doing a current balance pass to make them more of kind of like, a story of combat that you've been through. At the moment, they're a bit too heavily RNG reliant than I like. You can sometimes enter a bunker and walk out with, the worst injuries, and sometimes walk out with like none at all. It's not really you look at your character, it's not really the story of your character that's going through. But there's also some things we're working on to kind of add to medical gameplay. So a big thing we've been talking about is the pre-down state, where we want to move away from reviving people with the general med pens and have specific pens to revive people with.
Okay.
So the pre-down state is also very handy because imagine if like as soon as your health hits 0, you can essentially focus on crawling into safer space to be able to be revived at the moment, because if someone goes down, the majority of the time people are just tractor beaming people, their corpses into cover, and it obviously it looks a bit wacky. So the pre-down
Give us a
state is quite
fireman's
nice,
carry,
and,
please.
increasing the
Yeah,
BPL
for real.
costs for being revived and getting back up and things like that. The pre-down will be a very limited window of time as well, so it's not like see people crawling on the ground for like 2 minutes sort of thing.
Right. And there's we'll talk about it in a couple weeks on ISC, but there's a new help app being added to mobiGlass in 3.23 that'll give you a more detailed stuff like that. It's still being developed past 3.23, but you'll see more health-related information and stuff being made available to players,
That's cool.
which may help with that sense of immersion.
Yeah, it'd be cool if you could move in downstate, and like the more you move, like the
that's a
faster you
question about
bleed
night
out or
vision,
something.
skipping that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When it comes to ammo repooling, are you defining different types of ammo across different weapons? Rifle, pistol, sniper, shotgun, etc. Or will ammo pools be bespoke to each weapon magazine?
I can chime in. So it will be bespoke to each weapon's ammo. So for example, when you're repooling a P-Force ammunition, the ammunition that belongs to other weapons will not be touched. So it's for that weapon only.
It is weird they don't have specific
like right now,
ammo sizes.
Iteration, you will be able to repool
Calibers.
only if you actually have that weapon either in your hand or in your back. So you saw the damage animation in the ISC, so you have the weapon in your hand. So if you have it in your back, you will automatically unholster it. And if you don't have that weapon, you won't be able to repool. And so that's the situation. The current iteration, we'll see where we go from there. So please give us your feedback when you get your hands on it. One more point, actually something that we didn't show in ISC, but will be included in 3.23, is that you will be able to trigger repooling. In the inventory UI, when you right-click to a magazine, you see the context menu. You will see the repool option there. And when you click that, the repool, inventory UI will close, and then it will trigger the regular damage animation. And then similar goes with loot UI as well. Like
That's cool.
when you're in the loot UI, and then when you hover over the weapon and press a hotkey, in the same way it will trigger repulling. So you will be able to trigger from the menus as well.
There's a question here as a follow-up to this, asking, saying that all the examples of mag repooling that we were able to show in ISC were ballistic ammo, and asking whether that works on laser stuff. Before you get to the answer, I want to take the opportunity to comment a little bit about why you see certain things in ISC and why you don't. The guys who I'm going to shout here because they deserve it every week, Will, Dave, and Alex, who make all the footage for ISC each and every week, they work in a world. If you consider alpha that you guys play, and it works this well from time to time, it's still a pre-release build. Things work and has this level buggy, and then underneath that there's PTU, where fewer things work and there are more bugs and whatever. Then there's Evocati, where even fewer things work and there are even more bugs, and we generally NDA it and stuff like that. They work even before that. So the place where they work, every frustration you ever have gets visited on them about 20 times each and every week, and yet they persevere and they make some of the best damn stuff. I mean, ISC is better today than it's been at any time in its history, and that's because of Will, Dave, and Alex and the struggles that they're going through. They're currently struggling right now with the new cargo stuff and the new hangar stuff right now. Like literally this minute, they're in there doing that right now because it's so early. So we don't always get to show every single aspect that you might expect because we're working so early in the pipeline. So with that said, we weren't able to show laser repooling, but you can repool laser stuff. How does that work?
Yes. It's actually going to work the same way. So in the current iteration, they're all max, they're all subject to repooling, except for tools. So multi-tool and dedicated salvage tool at this point in time. So all are the same. We have the midterm to long-term idea that to toy with, which revolves around differentiating energy weapons from ballistic weapons by giving energy weapons some automatic ammo regeneration. That's kind of similar to energy weapons, but that's for the future. So yeah, for the time being, they will repool all the same.
Yeah, I'll just add, you right, Jared. I think they did a fantastic job because we'd shot our bits earlier on, and then we had a chat with them, and they were just amazing at being able to capture what we were kind of talking about. Because I felt like I was waffling on. I was like, they got exactly what I was talking about. But yeah, so basically, obviously, for right now for 323, obviously, it's much more easier for balancing and stuff to make sure that both ammo types will repool. But as Attila mentioned, yeah, we are talking about obviously when armor suits get the resource network, potentially we're looking into the idea of the ammo suits being able to trickle charge, because at the end of the day, the energy weapons are using batteries, right? So they don't have a physical capacity. And so the idea is that they might be able to slowly charge up. So there's obviously pros and cons to both, and that's how we are going to eventually differentiate between ballistic. You know, ballistic may do more damage, heavy hitting, but obviously it's limited by its capacity, right? And it can you need to obviously reload and run out of bullets and repool, whereas laser, for example, doesn't have a drop off, so it can travel much further. But then obviously we've got to think about overheating, and we've got to think about if it does overheat, but it also can just then recharge. You don't need to worry about running out of ammo per se. So yeah, that's kind of how currently right now it's the same, but eventually we are looking at the ways we can differentiate the two different ammo types.
Do the other FPS items we were talking about, like the multi-tool and everything, are there thoughts about giving them batteries and stuff as well at some point?
The Grin multi-tool?
Yeah.
Was that so?
Or just any of these other things that aren't strictly FPS weapons, but they're obviously energy based.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we're open to ideas of everything that can be battery-wise. Absolutely, could be charged up. Yeah.
Just a chat right now is imagining. I think Vlad said something about bringing a car battery to replenish weapons. Just somebody running around with a giant battery.
Okay. We're open to ideas.
I do wonder if they're ever going to add calibers to different weapons.
Position on the combat field. Just the guy
Or
with
if they're
all
just
the
going to keep
interaction,
it.
So right.
Certain mags go with certain
Could be a
weapons, and that's
profession,
just
you know.
how it is.
While we're talking about reloading, repooling stuff, will there be some way to either cancel or completely prevent reloading since it's getting updated?
Reloading?
Yes.
Breaking
Okay, so-
out.
Yes. So the answer is yes. You will be able to cancel reloading and repulling process by
Okay.
probably sprinting and jumping. So like there's a list of actions which we can cancel repulling with, or we cannot do while repulling. So we already have the system, but I don't have the a full list of actions in mind right now. But you will certainly be able to cancel that rummage animation.
Can you cancel other people reloading?
If you kill them, death is the ultimate cancel.
That's a bit
That'll do it.
Them over, right?
Yeah.
Death
That's what I'm
is the
looking for.
ultimate
Can you knock them
cancel.
over and it cancels their reload?
Well, yeah, force reactions
That's the
will
intention,
throw you
yeah.
out. Yeah, if someone throws a grenade and you go flying, you're not going to be able to rummage through your backpack.
And if somebody's in the middle of reloading and I can unarmed combat, punch them, will that interrupt maybe?
Depends how hard you punch them. If
Well,
you knock them out, yeah.
well, except I want a full-on WWE clothesline, but Steve Bender keeps
That's right.
turning me on. But all right. Just think about it, WWE clothesline.
Yeah,
Hell
but
yeah.
Zach and I obviously spent a lot of time looking at, we've called it like an actions matrix basically, and we've basically looked at everything: jumping, crouching, proning. What actions are you doing whilst you're doing that? So we're definitely working through it. It's a big.
So was that Jared subtly answering my tweet to him last week? I tweeted out asking if WWE was still a thing 900 years in the future, and if Cody Rhodes' family was trying to still finish the story. He just told us
That might be
it's still a thing. It's still a
Yeah.
thing.
Big list.
clotheslines coming
Yeah,
with
we try and think
4.0.
of every single action you're doing, and then it's like, do I reload? Do I want to heal? Do I want to holster? So it's a big list to get through, but we're working with obviously engineers to basically decide exactly kind of the game that we want to make and where we want to give freedom to the player, and then what actions are more punishable. Like if you've committed to that, then you've got to finish the animation and so forth.
Yeah, for example, like something with the action matrix work that we talk about, an example could be like if you med pen, right? Obviously, it's very quick now. But if we were to make that med pen process longer in the future, you might not be able to sprint out of that. You have to commit to it, sort of thing. So on the design side, we can kind of pick and choose where that goes. It goes a long way to making the game feel less clunky when you have more like autonomy and control over your character, and the movement and the feel of that is, it's very important. It's where the word clunk comes from, right? It's an indescribable feeling of like, oh, this feels janky, this feels clunk. It typically comes from like actions not working as you'd expect.
That's great. We're going to stay on the repooling. I got caught. Racuna Nangrata in chat says Zach is really unprofessional. How do you feel about that, Zach?
Yeah. Yes, that is my roots. I will say, I'm from a working class background in England, so everyone you see in the game industry is, usually a bit more polished and nicer. But I
Not
don't have
everyone.
that same attitude.
Look, at,
Not
nobody looks at
everyone,
me
no.
and says that guy's professional.
If you want to talk about professional,
Hey,
you should see his
now.
desk at work. It's horrific.
We love you,
it's
Jared.
terrible. It's got Warhammer figures. It's got Magic the Gathering decks.
He does it better than I could.
There's some
Oh, yeah.
Heinz barbecue
Yeah,
sauce
same
on
here.
here.
Some leftover cake, cans.
There's a shotgun. There's Cheetos that Todd Pappy gave me.
Anyone with OCD like me, I just can't sit next to him. But unfortunately, I'm forced next to him.
No.
We have
My
the
desk
most
is super clean.
beautiful dichotomy, because we sit right next to each other, and I've got like just this minefield, and Nick has this lovely like diorama of figures and so on and so forth. Yeah, I've got to bring all the cool stuff. Oh, it's not focused. Yeah, mainly Necrons on here though.
Ugh. Go Tau for life. All right.
Tau.
Tau.
Jared was
Tau is
gusty.
really
That's
uncommon.
rogue. Jared, you do
Yeah.
not seem like a Tau guy.
Yeah,
You
I
seem like
don't
an
think.
orc guy.
yeah.
I like robots.
Tau
I like
doesn't
robots.
fit into the aesthetic of 40k Tau.
That's why I like it. They stick out like a sore thumb. It's like Apple showed up and was just like, "Hey, Warhammer, we're here." I like really how upsetting it makes everybody else. So,
Great to good.
all right, back to reloading. Question from the
Nerds.
chat. NoX 4085 asks if there's been any thought about large weapons that may actually need a friend to reload.
What is this, Helldivers?
Yeah, I mean, who hasn't played Helldivers at the minute? But yeah, not on our radar at the minute. But you know, that's what we have ships for, right? The good team gameplay. But yeah, not on our radar. No, nothing to comment on for now.
Okay. Can we also pull magazines from our backpacks and equip them to the suit item ports instead of reloading my currently held weapon so that I can stock up my suit item ports?
In the current situation, no. So repulling process will reload your weapon. However, to quickly stock up your suit item ports, you can just open up Loot UI, and then with a single like a mouse click, you can like move your backpack max to your suit. Very easy. It's going to take a second. So it can be done easily, but not automatically.
Okay. So let's move on. We got some stuff for Dynamic Crosshair here. So Dynamic Crosshair is another one of the new features that are coming online with Alpha 3.23. This, basically, depending on the type of combat helmet that you wear, some will be able to provide you, a little virtual cursor that aligns with where your gun is going. I mean, I first saw this feature in, I think, Blue Thunder back in 1982 is where I first saw it. So, I was like, when it showed up here, I was like, oh, it's Blue Thunder. I'm sure some people have better references than that, but I'm old and dumb. That's mine. This question says, will we have any reason to use laser attachments on our weapons with the new Dynamic Crosshair?
Yeah, absolutely. So go on, Pascal, you take this.
Me? Okay, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, obviously. There's other weapons which you might not want to wear a combat helmet, or other situations where you might not want to wear a combat helmet. Like we have these environmental suits, and in these scenarios, you might want to wear a weapon or a tool and equip a laser pointer to it to know where you're aiming at. Or you have further down the line with different armor types, different armors equipped like a medical helmet or whatever. Not sure what's the design for all of these armor types. Nick can go into detail about this. But there are definitely situations in our game, and we will create even more situations along the line where the laser pointer will still be necessary or useful.
Yeah, I think like I said in the ISE, this is kind of like the start of our branching off into the archetypes for armors. So as Pascal mentioned, we do have different ideas. We're still playing with ideas. Nothing's concrete right now, but we're playing with ideas. And Rich talked about this in 2019 at CitizenCon on stage about, like, for example, a medic gameplay. What would that visor look like? Would they see the vital signs of their teammates, for example? Or if you're a miner, if for example, you're just wearing a combat helmet and you do a scan, maybe it'll just tell you the type of rock it is. But if you're wearing a mining helmet, maybe the visor will give you extra details like the clarity of the material or how efficient the rock will be to break down and stuff like that. So, or even like say, for example, like a specialist, like if you're pinging as a specialist, as a bounty hunter, maybe you get to ping further and get a little bit more of a head start on who you're trying to track. So, for example, I don't think we touched on this in the ISC, but we also looked at like the HUD, for example, with backpack reloading. Like with the combat helmets, obviously it gives you the information of the magazines on your suit, and the backpack, we may actually lose that information when you use, say, for example, the environment suit. So to answer your question, I think the laser sight still has a very viable path, because if you are doing a profession, let's say you want to be a miner or you want to be salvaging or whatever, obviously we're in a PvP environment, right. You just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's if you still want that freedom of knowing where your barrel is exactly pointing, and you getting jumped by an enemy team or whoever, then it still has that choice when you're outside of a combat helmet scenario.
Or you've simply just given yourself a brand new bouffant hair in the character customizer, and like, I'm not putting a helmet on
exactly.
this. Laser sight.
Exactly, right.
Laser sight, so I could show
off all that hard work, right? You're not going to put 50 hours in the character customizer for a helmet, right? So
it's all about choices. All right. Will shooting specific gear destroy the item, or, for example, in the case of grenades, make them explode in the future?
I hope so.
So again,
Please.
we've spent a lot of time kind of working out exactly how we want damage to apply. Obviously, a few years ago, I wrote the.
Oh wait, no, but that
design
would
for,
reward players that want to
wearing,
get good at the game.
Dirt, everything that comes with it, and overheating, and we've kind of implemented that in Squadron, and with obviously thinking with the PU in mind as well. We really are quite keen on the idea of an explosion happening to the specific area that you've been hit. So, for example, if a grenade does go off right by your weapon, then the level of wear and the damage applied to that weapon will skyrocket, obviously, as it's gone off right next to it. And the same could be applied for dirt. So, for example, if you're let's say you're in a swampy environment and you walk through, if you then sprint through, the amount of dirt that's then applied to that specific area, like your legs, for example, that will then skyrocket through. Same as if you were crawling through the mud, your level of dirt will cake your whole armor in mud, and the same for obviously damage on items as well. So yes, it will damage certain items, but we are still obviously playing around with how much of a factor that will play into the overall.
And did you have some? Okay. And with things like dynamic crosshair, specifically, just before we completely move on for this, there's a question in here about will players have the option to modify the dynamic crosshair, either in size, shape, color, whatever?
Since IC, we actually did a few adjustments already to the crosshair, and we're now looking for adding maybe an opacity slider or something like that, so you can at least say, oh, I don't want it fully visible or just half visible, so it doesn't really obscure my vision. And later down the line,
nice.
Let's see what the future brings, right? If we find the time, I would like to do it, but maybe we have other things that need more fixing or more help from our side. So
yeah, it's always a matter of priorities. It's
exactly.
not that we don't want to do it. It's just that sometimes there are other things that are deemed more important or pressing at any given moment, and then those priorities change, which is why sometimes, we can say that this thing is next, and then it ends up not being next and whatnot. The priorities change. When you say that you've begun working since ISC on the opacity stuff, those are technical explorations and stuff, and that's not you saying these are guaranteed to be in 323.
Let's see what the future brings.
That's what I'm saying. I just want to be clear. We just started looking into this again. It doesn't mean that's one of those things where that's one of those things. It's all this season here. Since we came back, we've been talking about all these tremendous things that are on the roadmap for 323. All these things that are being targeted for 323. There is still a go no go process, and if it comes to the point where does dynamic crosshair go in? Well, we don't have the opacity slider. We're not gonna. That's not the thing that's going to stop it from being a go. So there's always these choices that kind of have. So it's definitely something we're exploring. It's definitely something we want to work at. There's just no guarantee that opacity slider you just mentioned will be a 323 thing. Just something down the line we're looking into. I just want to be real clear. Set expectations. That dynamic crosshair, though, I think that's working really nice. Our guys had a lot of fun with it when they were doing the stuff for ISC, and I don't think we have to worry about that not being in 323.
Yeah, it's really amazing. Like when I first implemented this, obviously I liked it, but nowadays every time I don't have a combat visor on, I feel kind of something's missing, and I really enjoy it. I hope you guys will enjoy it too.
Yep.
It's a really great thing.
Yep. Sea Turtle Man in the chat says, "What the hell is a go no go?" I'm not going to spend too much time on that, but it's a good question that I think deserves to be reiterated every once in a while. We develop all of these features in silos. This team working on this, and 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 those all come with their own struggles, their own bugs, their own things that we tried to get this to work and we just never found it, or we got it to work and then we found out it wasn't fun. So we want to do it differently and stuff like this.
Sniper
Then
glint.
when you start to combine them all in a bigger patch, you find a whole new series of bugs, of different interactions of, oh, this worked great on its own and this worked great on its own, but when you put it together, we got two piles of butt. So we need to do more work and more adjustment stuff, and that's where the go no go process goes. It allows us to look at these things and determine whether they're ready for
Some people
prime
pay
time,
good
whether
money
they
for
should
that.
Go into the patch, or whether they should not go into patch. Very few things generally fail and go no go. We talked. I think the last one we talked about was the last Xi'an ship that was supposed to be on a patch, and it was like no, it failed to go no go. Nobody liked the cockpit. It wasn't a good experience, and then they held it back and stuff. There's a couple other examples like that, but for the most part, that's what the go no go is. It's how we prevent things from how we attempt to prevent things from causing more trouble than they're worth. Do we always succeed? No. But having the process and trying is better than not having the process at all. So that's what a go no go is, and that process happens.
Sometimes it's hard to remember that not everybody that watches this type of content knows
because you'll get
what a go no go is, like
from
right off the bat.
A complete different department, like you mentioned, that has brought something up, and you thought, actually, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
And then it leads you on down another path. So it's very, very important that we do these.
And then you'll get the other end of that, where, for example, where we talked about optic zoom, which was on the inner side of sites, but then we had issues with upscaling. So we've had to take out the inner optic zoom on the optics, which was shown off at CitizenCon, because it just doesn't work with upscaling. So it's like, like Jared was saying, when you work on a bunch of different stuff and all of a sudden it comes together, you're like, oh no.
And as for Shizor, I'm saying, it says, wait, where does the go no go? Right to my ulcer. All right.
Quickly to adding on that inner zoom thing that Zach mentioned, we're still trying to get this back in because we like the look of it, right? And the graphics guys are currently looking into solutions to that problem to give you that zoom effect on that actual scope. For now, for 323, it's probably not going to happen. Let's see what they can come up with.
That's what we were talking about when we watched last week, where like your eyes were zooming in,
like this
right?
question.
Instead of just the scope.
We've talked about, we've been talking about different FPS gadgets and things
Glad they're-
since the yay
they're
old
looking at
days
that.
of Star Marine when it was being developed by Ilphonic back in 2015. Is
a
there a
throwback.
possibility we could see ballistic shields in the future, maybe as shipboarding becomes more important?
Yes, there is a possibility. I actually worked on the ballistic shield. We have it for Squadron. We are not
Leaks.
sure when we bring this to the PU, but it's there.
He just leaked ballistic shields.
And let's see when this will spill over.
Seriously, ballistic shield?
Yes. Yes.
Let me tell you as well, it's not as straightforward as it sounds, because obviously in our universe,
Don't
and
take
being
this away
able to
from me,
carry it, it's I really hope we can get it into the PU soon, because it's very cool. But let me just tell you, it was tough.
Yeah, it was tough to get in the technical difficulties behind that, getting it working like we intended to work. But now we got it somewhat, and yeah, let's see when it spills over.
Well,
will be great.
Well,
I think me and you, Pascal, will push for it in, shall we? See what we can do.
Well, I'm just saying.
Let's see.
I'm just saying. Johnny Jasivius, JJ himself, plays in one of my D&D campaigns, and he's an orc who double wields shields, and just runs around with two shields, bashing people and stuff. So if you need someone to sign off, talk to JJ. Just tell him I sent you.
Okay.
Let's see. In ISC, when zooming in with the scopes, the whole screen outside of the scope zoomed in as well. I do understand a lot of things shown in ISC are work in progress, but not quite finished yet. Will this be correct? But will this be corrected so that only the image inside the scope is zoomed in?
So this is a technical limitation, basically. So a lot of games, what they do is they have a separate render layer for the weapons, which is obviously why we go to, when you go to a corner or something, holding a gun out, we do that because the gun would clip through otherwise. So it is a technical limitation currently, but we are working on alleviating that. We've seen a lot of feedback in regards to like, hey, if you blur the outside, it's more believable to me. So it's something we are working on. So the outside of the scopes will be blurred to, kind of trick your brain almost to not see behind the curtain. But yeah, we do
That's
something
better.
called the universal rig where it's, first person is equivalent to third person. So, what you get is what you see. And obviously that has some drawbacks. So in the instance, how we render things, how the universal rig is set up, and so on and so forth.
Next question. Sniper scope glint is my absolute favorite thing in every video game I've ever played. I can't wait until it's added into Alpha 3.23. Can I also hope to obtain, equip, and use advanced binoculars for scouting purposes, of course, also with a glint?
So binoculars are something that has come up a lot in discussions.
What kind of troll
recently,
was
and it's one of
asking
those
that
things
question?
it's on the list of gadgets. So it's one of those things where it's like we said, hey, people really want this. They feel very strongly about this. So binoculars are on the list of gadgets. It's not in the immediate future, but it is on the list for development.
I've never heard anybody say they like scope glint in any game.
It was super sarcastic.
Yeah.
What ammo variants have you been looking at, if any? Examples they give here are tracer, incendiary, etc.
Yeah, I can take this. So obviously we've kind of for Star Citizen right now we've kind of covered a lot of. We're quite happy with what we've covered so far. So we have some nice burst weapons, and we have obviously some powerful snipers and whatnot. But we have obviously with energy, kind of treat it as like an umbrella term for that ammo type. So under that umbrella, we have lots of plans. So obviously, the players will have seen laser, but we also have plasma, which is like obviously on the corner. So currently, Attil's done some really good work with damage over time with plasma. So that burning effect of once you've been hit, maybe a certain few seconds after that, you've got that sizzling burning effect that you've been hit by plasma. We also want plasma to be different than laser in terms of like how volatile it is. Maybe it overheats a lot faster. So just certain different factors like that. Then obviously discussing all the time, we're throwing ideas around. We've talked a lot about tachyon, like the idea that faster than light ammo, but obviously with balancing, we don't want it to be necessarily hit scan because that can cause a whole lot of issues. But then we've talked about neutron. What does that mean for FPS? Does it become more powerful the further it travels? And then obviously at CitizenCon, we showed the vault weapons. So we are a really exciting opportunity right now because we kind of feel like we've covered a lot of the standard FPS, what you'd expect.
I lost connection.
And really introduce some really unique mechanics and that can really differentiate gameplay.
Good job,
really
Discord.
Make each energy type really stand out from one another and really create that difference. So some exciting things hopefully on the way soon.
It's gonna get sci-fi up in here, which is nice.
Yeah.
Wonka Hussein in the chat says tachyon weapons would hit before you fired them. Would probably help Captain Burks.
Yeah, fast and light. Yeah.
Ooh. Sick burn, Jared.
I picked on Burks. He's just the name that pops up. This is an oldie, but a goodie. Will it be possible to equip weapons with civilian clothes?
Hopefully. It's something we're currently working on. I don't want to definitely say yes or no.
I thought they showed that off at CitizenCon.
I actually had a meeting last week.
Or maybe it was just the pouches.
Tech Anims and character art.
I remember
about the possibility
pouches.
of what we do, because obviously, as most players will know, that we spend a majority of time in armor, and we really want to utilize our clothing sets. So it's definitely something we're interested in, and it's something we're trying to figure out how we would go about it.
Yeah, and to clarify this, there are some weapons you can use with civilian clothes. We're talking about the ability to stow them and stuff like that.
Being able to holster on your back.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is obviously, we have such a high attention to detail, so we don't want clipping. We don't want it to just completely break the asset, essentially. So, and obviously we have a lot of legacy clothing, and we're also introducing like a new clothing style, and it's just basically kind of working with different departments to see, okay, what is absolute no-go, what works, like, different ideas. Would it have necessarily like a magnetic plate would attach? Would it attach like via a holster? All these different ideas are being thrown around because it is something that we are quite passionate about getting into the PU. So hopefully,
even if it's like an equipable holster, just something you can add to your your pants or your trousers that gives you the hard point to stow the gun would be cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Is the plan? We haven't talked a lot about recoil. Let's find a recoil one. Is the plan to make weapons generally follow recoil patterns like the 3221, like the 3221 C54? Lots of recoil, but low or no bloom. This would be cool. That part's not a question. That's just a statement.
So in regards to this, there's kind of been some confusion because obviously we shipped a lot of procedural recoil in 322. So there are some improvements coming to the recoil system in general. So for example, let me answer the initial question first. So each weapon does have a recoil pattern. There are minor amounts of variation on the recoil pattern, as it help you don't want the weapon feeling the same every single time you fire. But each weapon does have a unique recoil pattern. So you imagine something where a sarcastic arms weapon is more unwieldy, there's a bit more noise, it's more horizontal, where something bearing is more traditional, very vertical with less firepower than sarcastic arms. So what we've done for 323 is we've refined these recoil patterns and made them what general visual recoil and actual recoil is a bit smoother than previously in 322, not to any kind of noticeable from a, very noticeable, you're not going to get very, static and boring weapons, but it's in the sense of helping firing at range. Because if you try use things like the bearing at 40, 50 meter engagement ranges, you can typically struggle, and it's not the gameplay we want with the scope and the expanse of our world. So it will help you basically take these fights. Other things as well, just off the cuff, like looking at magazine sizes, especially damage profiles in regards to damage fall off, projectile speeds. So overall, making the kind of on the ground PU, you're contesting Jump Town, you're contesting Ghost Hollow, far more viable with an assault rifle, as it should be.
All right. It was. We struggled with that in the edit because some of the recoil changes have already been out there in 322 and some weren't, and making sure that got communicated but still demonstrated. Strathholm, that looks like in the chat, has a simple question. Slide mechanic.
Oh yeah, let's talk sliding.
Yeah, they talked about slide at CitizenCon, but we haven't seen any mention of that with 323 and stuff. Is that still intended? Is that back of the drawing board? Is what can you tell us anything about sliding?
So sliding won't be in 323, but in general, I've seen a lot of causing concern around this potentially being very arcadey. And obviously, we don't want that to be the case. It's primarily a thing that is used to get into cover. For example, in our game, when we talk about
obviously we don't want that to be the case.
Stamina cost. You can't fire whilst you're going into the slide. You can't ADS while going into the slide. It's basically a full body commitment action, primarily designed to be defensive. Seen some concerns about initial bursts of speed when you go into the slide and things like that. But obviously, our intention is to make this, a slide that makes sense in the universe of the game, and that is what we are planning to do.
I don't really have any concerns about the slide.
No details for 323, but obviously as we go on, more will be revealed.
What's your current stance or opinion on force reactions with regards to how it applies to gunfights?
So force reactions are always a very contentious point. We tone them down for 322, and at the moment we're looking at removing staggering of all weapons, all FPS weapons. So no weapons will no longer all weapons will no longer cause the player to stagger, but obviously we're still keeping flinching and things like that in. Grenades will still cause knockdowns and things like that, but basically making it more believable and as you'd expect, and less frustrating. Because we know staggers are a big pain point for people who do a lot of PvP and FPS.
Okay. Now at least two people will be happy with that. Shotguns. how will shotguns be made more relevant with the upcoming changes?
I don't want to talk for the again, but it is my area. So we are doing a big balance for 323, taking a lot of community feedback as you've been talking about like damage profiles and stuff. Shotguns are going to bring the pain. The game director is very fond of shotguns, so they will be coming in
Promising.
pretty powerful. So but
I hardly
obviously,
ever
you know,
use
you
a
don't wanna make them
shotgun.
busted, obviously. So this will include some things like
And Star
tighter
Citizen.
spreads to make them even
Yeah.
more accurate at distances. I know a lot of people
They've
are
not
very
been
annoyed
great.
when they shoot somebody
They
at a
just
shotgun that's
haven't.
20 meters away and they don't do anything. So that is not going to be the case. Shotguns haven't been viable for a very long time, and we don't want to make that the case. Some other improvements as well to pain points that we've seen. Railgun and grenade launcher in PvP scenarios on the ground will be becoming stronger, and the intention of that is so Salty Mike can actually win a gun rush game.
Okay. I got time for maybe 2 or 3 more. What are the major challenges you still need to address in 323 and beyond in order to bring the feel of FPS combat in Star Citizen from that of an alpha to a modern FPS experience?
Do you want to take this one, Nick?
I think you should all take this one.
Yeah, I think we kind of already brushed on it, but I will just quickly say, obviously, you know, we put so much work in our scopes, and obviously we've got such a wide range of armor sets, and having what Pascal mentioned, like having the armor sets completely block the vision, and then having to do that workaround, and then making sure that, you know, we've got to, especially when you make a game for PC, you've got to think about different FOVs, and you've got to think of different setups and how it will impact different players. And so I think that's something that we've is kind of been a bit of a pain point. But I think the change that we're doing now, and then eventually down the line, hopefully the change we make later on will really be so beneficial. So that would be my point, I think.
Okay.
So
add to it.
Sorry again.
No, do it.
Just to add on that, there are some things. Obviously, the biggest one for me personally is sprinting and general movement and how that feels. So
That's a big one.
Sprinting is a prime
Yeah.
example of one
Yeah,
of
it
the
is.
improvements that we're planning to make. When you run, the gun goes below the camera. There's not too much head shake and things like that. So the overall feel of when you're sprinting, especially if you're on a planet, it doesn't ever feel like you're properly sprinting. And again, that ties into you know, how much stamina that takes, because it's not too expensive or painful to sprint at the moment, and that plays into how much like weapon sway and things that you have. But yeah, some stuff I mentioned earlier, you know, tracers, more obvious muzzle flashes, better improvements to how we do medical gameplay, just some other stats on the weapons we need, like sprint to fire is a big one. So at the moment, all the weapons use the same sprint to fire, which is a big reason why the P6LR was a very big offender in 322. And if you basically say, okay, cool, it actually takes you time to shift your LMG from the sprinting pose to the return pose, then LMGs are not as good in CQC, and we can make them slap incredibly hard over, you know, those 40-meter ranges, because the LMG person's already prepped, already aiming at you, they will shred you. So it's stuff like that that stops us from getting, like, you know, because LMGs at the moment feel like assault rifles with big mags, where everyone uses LMGs. It's examples of things that we're looking at to say, like, hey, you know, this is how we improve our weapon sandbox.
That all sounds great.
And overall get something that's, you know, feeling like the weapon variety is very intentional, just like we're doing with armor.
Yeah, most of the stuff they've been talking
Pascal
about with
and
FPS
Vito,
does. It's just
I know that these are the
glint's
designers.
a weird
they
one.
get to set a lot of direction, but as
Yeah.
programmers, there's got to be some things that you want to get in there to really bring the experience out. What do you got?
Honestly, from my side, I have a lot of put a lot of focus in the clunkiness, and how the biggest point I always had was like that feels not really smooth firing in the weapon. And now that we worked on the recoil, that's the great thing of the procedure recoil, right? I did the tool, and Zach has to do all the work now, bringing in the recoil. So that's a nice benefit of being a programmer. I don't actually have to do the work. I just do a small bit, and then Zach suffers. But yeah, this was for me the biggest gripe about our game. The HUD also was always a little bit not too clear to me. We're improving that as well with 323. And for now, like, we have all of these new improvements going in, and all of my biggest concerns have been answered or addressed, and I don't really know what I want to improve at this point in time. Obviously, when I play more, I will start picking up on the more minor annoyances and then want to improve that until they become a major annoyance for me eventually. But for now, I'm way more happier than 3.23 and don't really have anything that I must do.
It's good. How
He
about you, Agile?
misspoke. He said the wrong wrong
I'm
numbers.
going to mirror Pascal here. So, yeah, for example, the
2.32,
combat
like
was
PC
a
Gamer
really
said?
good addition, like a really good improvement. Now we convey information way more accurately and a lot more useful information to the player. Like the difference, like for example, from time to time, we play Star Citizen like in the office, and I see the old UI, and like in my you know, when I'm working on this new HUD, like the difference is like unimaginable, really, and it's gonna feel really different. And
I'm excited for
especially
it.
after what the guys were working on with the recoil and the new scopes, they also made a difference. So probably like this particular update made a lot of things like closer to our golden standard. So I will probably get a more concrete opinion on like how awesome we made the things after a few more play tests. But it's really, really promising.
All right, last question, because we're already a few minutes over. This is personal. You're speaking only for yourself. You can add one new weapon or gadget that doesn't currently exist in Star Citizen or Squadron 42. What is it?
Ooh.
Silence.
So, yeah, it's what
What a
it's what
question.
yeah. So the big
That's on
thing
the
I want
spot.
is a slug shotgun easily. It's my favorite weapon type in games. I absolutely love them. I also want
No,
incredibly
just
quick...
one, just one.
Okay.
Slug shotgun?
Slug shotgun. That's what I'd take, hands down.
All right, Etel?
Probably a rocket launcher from one of the old school shooters. That feels
Yeah.
really good to use.
Quake 3 rocket
Honk
launcher?
honk, baby.
Chainsaw. That would be great.
Who said chainsaw? Who said chainsaw?
Yes.
Me,
Let's get some
Pascal
Ash
said
versus
chainsaw.
Evil Dead up
Alright.
in here.
That's
That
good.
would be great.
Cut
Let's
off
just
the
go
hand
ahead.
and replace it with chainsaws.
Turn Star
Man, what a
Citizen into a
question.
boomer shooter. Let's go, baby.
I would love some sort of gameplay kind of
Now we're
weapon.
talking.
Maybe
Now we're
shoot a
cooking.
mini black hole and they all get sucked in the middle and then something happens. I'd love that. Something really out there, sci-fi.
Yeah.
There was a funny thing with Pascal's answer actually, because he says chainsaw, that's the most doomed thing. When we were making the procedural recoil, when Pascal was like testing it, he would always hip fire the weapons to say, "Hey, look how cool this looked," because he basically only plays boomer shooters. So we were in a feedback loop of like him making recoil purely from a hip fire perspective, because obviously you can't ADS in a lot of boomer shooters.
That's
You
right.
should see his test level.
it's E1 M1 from the original Doom.
No, it's not. It's legally distinct. It's legally distinct.
No, it's not for the public, but I just took my map layout to learn our editor, right? I have to learn it at one point, and I would just do E1 M1. I know how that looks, right?
All right, fair enough. Fair enough. I asked the question. I'm a simple baseball Batman myself. I just want to chase people around with a bat. All right.
And if we
That's
find
it.
nails, we
Thanks,
can
everybody,
put them
for
in the
joining us
bat.
For another episode of
Yeah,
Star
and with the new
Citizen
character
Live.
creator,
Thanks
you
for the
make the
FPS
character look
improvements
like
coming in
Sting.
Alpha 323.
Do it as Sting.
Oh, man.
We're going to do another raid. Lenny's, you can already start that raid. Looks like we're raiding Vater and Shonzaken. I know those guys. They're a father and son streamer team. So yeah, they're pretty cool. If you stick around, say hi to those folks. Just be nice. Wipe your feet. You don't have to stay
your
there, but you
feet.
can't stay here. If you haven't checked it out already, watch the character customizer episode of ISC that came out last week. There's just a lot of stuff a lot of people have been waiting for and coming their way in at 323. And then come back next week for our cargo and persistent hangar episode of ISC. This week, that's the
Nice.
episode that Will and Dave and Alex are over there trying not to eat their faces to get footage to show you because it's still early and it needs work. But so appreciate their work and I want to shout them out again. So yeah, for this show, that was Zach, that was Pascal, that was Atil, and that was Nick. I'm Jared. Thanks a lot for showing up. It's David on the keyboards. It's Pete, who looks like B-Rabbit in 8 Mile right now. I don't know when that happened. That happened sometime in the middle of the show. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week, everybody. Take care.
Thanks, Jared.
See you later. That was a good one, I thought.
Man. Yeah, it was good. I'm liking like 99% of the FPS changes coming up, and even some of the stuff they were talking about, like, you know, making movement better and reiterating on the scopes again, and you know, different weapon types and stuff. That all sounds great, and definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah, same here. I think the sniper glint thing is going to get changed too. Like, I think once 323 comes out and people spend some serious amounts of time with it, I could be wrong, but I really do think that's going to get changed. It's too many nerfs. Too many. And that one in particular is egregious.
Yeah, there's going to be those. I feel like most people are just going to be like, yeah, it's bad, and then like move on and not really care about it. But I hope that there is enough feedback to where they make changes to it. Like I said, I'm fine with it if it makes sense. You know, with the light sources or whatever. But if you're down in a cave and you're aiming down sights at somebody, why is there a glint?
Right.
You know, or pitch black at night with no moon out. You know, not facing the sun. They're in the shade. Yeah. I don't know. It doesn't make a sense from a realism point of view, and also it just it's not good. It's not good.
It's not good. It's not good.
I don't know how many times I can say it, but it's not good. There's other ways to make snipers not as powerful.
And there's already so many people saying that right now that I think once it's actually in game and everybody's forced to reckon with it, there's going to be even more voices. That's why I feel pretty sure it's going to get changed.
Yeah, because I really don't know where like the outcry of like, oh, snipers are ruining my gameplay at Jumptown. Like where is that? I haven't seen that. I mean, I'm sure it's there, but
if that's you, let us know in the comments down below. I mean, I'm sure somebody's saying it, but I don't think it's anything to a scale where all of these sniper nerfs are justified.
Yeah, but, like he gave the example of Jumptown, and like that's a pretty, you know, it's just that one building out in the middle of an open area, except maybe the one at on that island at Hurston.
Yeah,
might have some trees around it and stuff, but like you can design FPS like areas where FPS is going to happen that snipers aren't as useful. Like Ghost Hollow, there's a lot of objects, there's a lot of trees and shrubbery and bushes, and like that's going to change up sight lines for snipers to make it to where they just can't see you for like all these like hundreds of meters. So like, you know, that could be an answer for it too. Like when they're designing these FPS places, like think about that.
Better level design, you mean? No.
Yeah, like I don't know. I'm no game developer. I'm no engineer. I've never developed anything on a game, but I've played a shit ton of them, and I've never liked sniper glint in any game I've ever played ever. So that's all I can say.
Yeah. Same here. All right. With that, I think that's going to conclude this CommLink Reacts. If you've enjoyed this one, be sure to like and subscribe for more. We've got various other Star Citizen and Squadron 42 React videos up on our channel. Also on our channel, we have the CommLink Podcast, where we discuss pretty much everything Star Citizen and Squadron 42. We also have the CommLink Alert as well. It's essentially an audiobook for major articles published by Cloud Imperium Games. The most recent one to go up was the letter from the chairman from Chris Roberts earlier this week. So be sure to check out our other content up on YouTube. It's on Spotify as well. We're also available on Twitter and Instagram at CommLink Pod is the handle for both of those platforms. If you check out our Twitter page pinned at the top, we are doing a Cutter Rambler giveaway with LTI. All details are over there on Twitter at CommLink Pod. Thanks as always for watching. Silvius, thanks for doing this. This was fun.
Yeah, thanks, Stubb. Happy 316 day, everybody. And make sure you tell Zach how much you don't like Sniper Glint.
Hell yeah.
All right. See you in the next one.
Bye.